Just a box. There's stuff inside the box, I hope. I know there is, because I've already looked. Yeah, I'm not going to fake the opening. I've seen that done so many times that obviously they've cut the seal already. And, oh, I've got a friend come and see me. Hello, my boy. How are you? What are you doing underneath there? Come on then. Oh, yeah. This is Wally Dog. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's a good boy. He's got, you know, he's been well trained. The things you expect of a good dog. You know, pees up stuff. Yeah. Licks your face. Thank you. Ugh. You're standing on my memory. Thank you. No, that's my memory. It's my other one. That's the other 16 gig. Give me that back. Wait, now what you do? You're gonna. Oh, that's my manual for the motherboard. Now where you go? Now what you do now? Are you showing? Hello. Do you like that, boo? He's gone. That's probably a good idea that he left. Inside that box is my cooler for the computer, and it's a water-cooled cooler, but it only costs 40 odd euros. But Uphere, why Uphere? Who comes up with these names? So Uphere Design have designed a cooler. And you've got various little brackets, I imagine, for Intel as well as AMD. Other little screws and what have you. Oh, I didn't notice that. I bought that, but it comes with some heat transfer paste in there. There's a tiny little syringe in there, etc. Some sort of sticky pads. 3M sticky pads of some description. Must be something to do with the mounting, I imagine. You get a fan, which also has a ring of LEDs, and this is the red, because of one of the the stereotypical red black kind of look. So yep, so it's got LEDs in there as well. So you get your fan with that, which will be mounted onto your radiator. I've already tried to fit this in the car and it doesn't work. And which is already attached to the cooler module thingy-majiggy, a bit with a copper thing on it. But you've got the copper plate on the bottom, and that's what goes on top of your CPU. But first of all, I need to think about how it's going to mount onto the motherboard, and how that is going to mount into the case. So I have my motherboard here. Don't forget, obviously, when you handle these, you need to discharge your body from static electricity. Because our clothes being what they are these days, synthetics, you do build up in your body quite a bit of static. So if you've got something there with a metal case that's plugged into the mains, not the live, hopefully the earth, something with an earth on it. Like for instance, I got this here, a French sockety thingy, extra, and it's got these earth pins. So if I touch those, and those blooming trolleys, God, I'm always getting zapped by those flipping trolleys. Why is that? So somehow, via the mounting system, this is going to be mounted on top of here. Yeah, that's also got some LEDs in here as well, so that glues red. So that's going to be mounted on top of there. Now, as you can see here with these two brackets here, the likelihood is they're not going to be any good. They usually have to come off. They're for a different sort of arrangement. Imagine a clip-on sort of arrangement looking at them, but we're not using those. We'll be using the brackets that come with the Uphere liquid cooler. Now, I say liquid cooler, it's got some sort of fluid in these pipes and the radiator. Yeah, so I've got two brackets here. I'm not quite certain which one is going to be the one that we use. Looking at it, it's going to be this one. I'm going to have a look at the manual, so bear with us. Well, I think I've sussed it. I think. Right, we have to get that on there. Now, what I didn't realise was this is for, well, I did realise this is for the AMD and also it'll fit on the Intel LGA. We have to change this for the AMD bracket, which is that one. With it, I think this is supposed to pull it out. It pulls out. So there you go. Anyway, so I've took that bracket off, which is the sorry, no, that one off. Which is the more square-looking bracket, and that's for the Intel. And that's slid into that slot. You have to take that off, and you replace that with the AMD one. But obviously, if you've got an Intel processor, you'd use the Intel one. So that all slides into there, I believe, like so. Ooh, positive. And now I've got to do the arrangement on the motherboard itself. Well, we have this bit's over here at the moment. Yeah. Right, I need a driver screw, a screwdriver. That's it. Because on this motherboard, which seems to be on most of the motherboards, we shipped to these weird two kind of bracket things. Well, we don't want them. They won't work with this cooler. So we have to remove those, so carefully unscrew those, try not to slip and damage something. It's usually a good idea. And don't forget to discharge yourself, which I did earlier actually. So I don't think I've built up any static just yet. So we have to remove those two screws on each bracket. There's one, so I'll put that in there. One here. We'll put that over on there, and then we have the little plastic bracket thingy-majiggy in there, and then we have another one. So we have to comes off so, and just an ordinary number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Seems to fit all the screws for some reason. They're so tiny, some of the screws, and yet they're still Phillips. So not posi drive, Phillips. Posi drive, you'll find that they won't be too fat on the fins. See, they'll. See, this is the thing, people realise, oh, it's a Phillips screwdriver. Not necessarily. There's Phillips and there's posi drive. They're two different things. Yeah? Posi drives, it will say it's PZ1, 2, 3, or 4. Whereas you've got the Phillips be 1, 2. The Phillips have a longer, narrower fin on the actual screwdriver. So don't mistake them. Don't try and undo posi drive screws with a Phillips screwdriver, because the likelihood is it's not going to fit properly and damage your screws, or you could slip and damage something else. So, but anyway, it's all Phillips. So I've got that bit off, and then there should be another bit on the back, which is that bit. It's just come off the back. So that was mounted on there. These are all metal. So now I've removed that piece, which I won't need now. I'll keep it. Don't know why, but I'll keep it. But and now on to the next stage. So the next stage is going to be mounting this device here onto that device there, and deciding on what way round we want this, because in theory this could be mounted either that way or it could be mounted that way. So I have to think really what is the best route for the mounting of the actual radiator in this around. So look inside my case, Versa thingy-majiggy. So the motherboard is going to be mounted in there, the cooler is going to be mounted to the motherboard. So I've got to think, where will I be mounting, how is this going to be mounted inside the case? I think there's an I/O slot here, so that's going to be mounted this way round. So if I just put that in there temporarily like so, I would normally do it flat, but obviously for the purpose of, so you could, I was going to fall in. So you see, I thought I'd do it that way around. So this fan, the fan for this one, that fan there, it's going to be mounted in the front of the case. Probably looking at it, it's probably going to be mounted here. So yeah, I think this radiator is going to be mounted somewhere about here. And then I've got to think that this is then going to have to go on top of there somehow. What is the best way round? Will it be going round that way? Probably going to go that way round. I've never done this before, you can tell, can't you? And so it's crossing over, so that's going like so. So it could go like that maybe. Oh. That was scary. Could go around that way there, I think. It is going to go over the top of, it's going to block some of the memory, but I don't think that's huge. It's at the end, does it really? Doesn't really matter. So I think that way. I think the other way is going to, it won't reach anyway, if I go the other way. So it's going to have to go that way around. So you can see that there. Anything in the up here is going to be the wrong way. It's going to actually be written the wrong way up. So that way round. Yep. So the cooler's going to mount at the front there. So that's going to mount there. So now I know what way round the actual cooler has to go onto the chip. So I'll take this out again. A little bit more careful than I was a minute ago. Backplate here. And then we have a series of screws, which there's a lot of screws. These are the ones for the CPU. Yep, these ones here. If you look at them, they have a little flat on one side of the actual heads. You see that? You should just about see that. About folks here. There's a flat on one side, so there's 4 of those, and they're the ones that we use. And they mount from the back to the front. The back of the motherboard to the front of the motherboard. And they go through this bracket, and we have this, what looks like to me, an isolator. Yeah, it's just like a square. You don't use the outer part looking at it. So you just use that bit there. So you have the isolator, which looks like you'd stick that to the motherboard itself, or to the bracket. Right, it's saying to me that it goes that way, AMD to the AMD. That's a bit odd, that is, really, because on the actual bracket it says AMD on one side, on the other side it says Intel. But that seems a bit silly, because when you have the AMD, the way they're showing here on the manual, the AMD is going to be hidden, and you're going to see the Intel. Well, for some people, that might confuse them. There's 4 washers as well. So I'm looking at this now. I'm not quite certain, but I think you'd actually mount it onto this. It'd be neater. You take your D3 out of there. Take your centrepiece out. Put that out of the way over there, and then that very carefully we then stick that to the back of this. And it's not basically it's stopping the metal from being able to touch any of these little metal or little blobs of solder and what have you. So you're not actually mounting directly onto those, but you're shorter. So in fact, you'd be making a connection, which you don't really want to do there. It'd be a bit daft, I think. So we have that there, and we have so that's going to be sitting on top of there like so. Oh, I see. So the flats face inwards like so. Equally there was washers as well. So you can see what I've done there. That's just one screw up it, and just there.
She didn't like a bath.
Didn't like a bath?
Didn't like a bath.
Oh dear, my granddaughter didn't like having a bath. She looks like a little banana. Well, what's she got on the front there? What's on the front of her? What's that on there? What's that? Oh, happy baby. No, she's not a happy baby. She's an unhappy baby. But there you go. That's my new mascot. So, 4 washers that we have to use. Okay, so we've got these little washers here. And looking at that, they go just underneath the bracket. So they go there, like so. Yeah? So you have... That's a bit odd. That won't fit over, so that can't be the right washers. That can't be... Oh, no, that's gone. Sorry. So they just fit over, and you have to push them over. They're tight onto the shank of the bolt, so they don't come out now, see? So I'll do that on each of them. And that one goes into there. Like so. And then we do... And then put the wash on that one. And we have to do this 4 times. 4 times a lady. There we go. And there's another one over here. Now there's 2 positions in these slots. It was a weird sort of like half-moony, double half-moon slot, and these slot into them. But they slot on either side, so you could if you're not careful, you could put them on the wrong side. I'm assuming it's the outside ones. I might have to reposition that, I don't know. The actual instructions are not very clear at all. They're quite poor. It's a little schematic, but it's not obvious. I suppose at least you've got some form of instructions. It gives you a start, doesn't it? But there isn't any real videos online. I think there might be one. I saw one, and it didn't really tell me much at all. And that's for the Intel. So there we have it. There's our little metal bracket for the AM4 AM4 socket, with its little isolator in place. So there we have it. We have our bracket, which is the one that goes a little bit hard underneath the motherboard. So with the motherboard and then the CPU and the cooler on top of that. So hopefully I got that right. So I'm going to push it into the holes. Oh, gone into its holes. I like when it goes into holes. Yeah, it looks okay on this side. Nothing's touching that it shouldn't be touching. So that's a good sign. But I don't understand really why, like I said earlier, I don't know if you can say that on there, but it says Intel. And it's showing the Intel even though you got it on AMD. So that ought to already be the other way around, really. So we have the 4 little posts pointing up here, and we have 4 little spaces. I believe goes on next, like so. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All with their little spaces on. Well, there we have it. So that's the Ryzen processor mounted in there with the 4 posts ready to take the cooler. This one here, and this is going to be sitting on top of those 4 posts. Yeah, hopefully. Alright, well, first I've got to put the thermal paste on and what have you. The only awkward thing here is I've got this attached this to the radiator. It's just going to make things a bit awkward to mount the actual motherboard into the case. Sorry, yeah, so it might make it a bit tricky to get that into there. There you go. So what I think I'm going to do next, now I've got to this stage, and I've got the brackets on the back of the motherboard. I think the next stage is I'm going to be putting the motherboard into the case and then mount the cooler on top of that. So basically we're going to have a little blob of goo on there, the thermal paste, to transfer the heat from the CPU into the cooler, and then the cooler will the fluid will be pumped around the radiator and cooling off the fluid and then returning back to the CPU block here. So, and it should transfer the heat and dissipate it. I am now going to get set up and think about how I'm going to mount the motherboard into the Thermaltake N24 Versa case. So there we go. I'm going to do that now. There we have it. The last screw going in. So the next thing I want to do now is to mount the cooler in place. If you remember, this is our cooler. The fan is going to be mounted at the front, so it's actually going to be going on that way round. It'll be going on this way around here, right? It's up to you what way around you want. You put it on whatever way around it suits your setup. Now, there is on the back here. There's a piece of film that has to be removed first, and so I'll do that now. I'm doing this one-handed because I said it earlier about my Steadicam, but the battery's gone for that. So yeah, so I'll peel it off like so. Heat transfer paste. I'm going to put a dollop on. I'm not just going to put a dollop in the middle, bead in the middle, and squeeze it down, because you could end up with cold spots when no heat will be transferred. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a blob on there like so, but I'm going to spread it about. I'll use an old business card, especially with mine, so, and I'm going to spread that over the whole surface of the CPU, and it looks like I just spread it over everything else as well. So try not to do what I just did and put it where you don't want it. Harder than it looks, really. I might not put enough on, I might need a bit more. Yeah, a little bit more now, I think. I will clean that little blob off. Just in case it's not just heat conducting it, just in case it conducts electricity. I don't really want on there, so I'll clean it off in a second. So, next stage, just trying to make sure that the whole CPU is covered, not too thick. Just what you're trying to do is trying to make it so there's going to be no spots. No spots that cannot transfer the heat from the CPU. Because obviously these things do get quite hot if you let them. So there you go, double that around there. So that's a reasonable cover in there. I've got a bit of excess on the back here, so I'll try and remove that. Like so. On the top. Right, and I've managed to be a bit of a mess. You see I've got a bit of excess down here. Almost got scraped off, so I can... Yeah, well, I'm happy with that, that's fine. I'll get in there and I've got a bit of on the edge here as well, so just remove that. So, I don't think that's too bad. That ain't too bad, I don't think. You can see there. Yeah, and that's when I put the cooler on top of that, that'll squeeze that down and make a reasonable contact over the entire surface of the chip against the body of the cooler. Yeah, and if you see here, what I've done is I've put the paste onto the smallest item. In this case was the CPU, because the cooler body is considerably larger, yeah, than the CPU. What we'll end up having is it'll just literally be a small square in the middle, and that's the only bit that it needs to make contact. So there you go. I'm going to now mount this into place, which is a bit fiddly with one hand. The CPU cooler is now positioned on top of the CPU. I can feel that the paste is making contact, and now I've got to put the 4 screws in. Well, like little nuts, knurled nuts. So I'm going to put them on next. So there we have it. Screw these down. We've got to try to maintain even pressure. So you do opposites. So there's that screw, then that screw, then that screw, then that screw. I don't think they're going to screw down particularly tight. They're on springs. So you screw it up against the springs. It's the pressure of the spring which is really providing the pressure against the CPU. So that can sort of comfortably move over the CPU. I did find the screws a little bit on the short side at first. You have to keep your hand from underneath the other side of the motherboard, and push them up to help, so they cruise a bit further, get your screws a lot easier. But I'm quite happy with that, it's looking okay. Yeah. So my next stage now will be to mount the radiator and the fan unit in the front here. What will we do next? Okay, so now I've got the actual CPU cooler mounted to the CPU. My next stage I've got to mount this radiator. And I've got a bit of glare up there, so move that light out of the way. Is that better? Not really. Is that better? No, that's better. Right. So we have our fan, which is the one with the LEDs and what have you. That needs to be mounted. Oh yeah, I campers. Well, I'm mounting the fan unit on the front of the case. I've decided what way around I'm going to do it. I'm putting the fan up against the front of the case instead of into the side of the case. Inside. Basically, I'm sandwiching the fan between the radiator and the fan. Hopefully that doesn't interfere with the radiator. No, it won't. That's fine. So to do that, I've got my radiator and my fan like so, and I've got to line up. Because the way they show you, you use use 8 screws. If I do that way, I'm not going to see the LEDs through the radiator, am I? Which isn't what we're after. That's not what we want. Well, not what I want anyway. So I've got to line it up on there like so. It's a bit fiddly. Once I get one in, obviously I'm not going to tighten it all the way. Just partly tighten it. Get in there. So it's not been tightened. It's just hand pull, just 2. And I'm going to have it as far to the top. It's getting another screw. Another one of these long screws. I'm going to go right through the front again, like so, and I can line up, find the hole it is. I'm sure plenty of people have trouble finding that hole. There you go. Innuendo for you. And just screw that one into the back of the radiator. So, like so. That one there, so. So they're not tight yet. And then I've got 2 more to put in. Bottom here. If you want to increase the airflow, you could now actually doing it this way. You could mount another fan on this side of it. So there's 2 fans on the same rad. So that would increase the airflow. I don't see why you shouldn't do that. Whatever tickles your fancy. Whatever tickles your fancy. So as you see on the front there, you can see the fan. It's slid down at the moment. I'm just going to put the last screw in. And then I can tighten them up and push the fan to the top of the hole, all up to the top here, because I've got the other fan to go on the bottom. There's 2 fans on this one, but this is just to really demonstrate the mounting of the Uphere CPU cooler. Yeah, I'll tighten them up. And like I said, I've put the fan on the other side of the radiator, and that seems to have, yeah, that's a treat. That's held in there nicely. So have a quick look at that. As you can see there, that's mounted there. Got the. Now all I've got to do now is to plug them in. What we have now, we have the CPU cooler, which lights up. That's a red colour. This one they do in different colours. And we have the 2 pipes for the coolant, which goes to the radiator. A cable here. This one here has to go to the CPU fan. In this case, it's CPU fan 1. I'm a bit confused because there's 1, 2, 3. Ah, that's a good point. That isn't the CPU fan, is it? That one. This one is. Hope it reaches. Yeah, it reaches. So that is going to have to go plugged into there. Aha, that is right around there. There you are. There it goes. I'm not too keen on that wire and dangling about like that. But it's not long enough to do anything else with it, so that'll have to be okay. So we've got another cable here, which I imagine is for the pump, maybe. Yeah, which comes with a radiator and a cooler, and mounted on top of the CPU with the thermal transfer paste. So I hope you found that of use to you. Because there isn't much online, well, I haven't found much online about how to fit these things. Yeah, your 2 pipes leading to your CPU cooler, and that's done. So just got to work out where this is going to go, and then we'll jobs are good. Like and subscribe. Don't forget, please.